No better workout and stress reliever for me than the heavy bag. And I need it because I'm still just a little bit stressed after Saturday night's controversial Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez draw here in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. We're going to examine the fight a little bit. I'll go over the fight itself, my scoring, the controversial judges' scoring. We'll also get a chance to chat with Gennady Golovkin's trainer, Abel Sanchez, and his promoter, Tom Loeffler. I caught up with them the following day at the Hublot Boutique in the Crystal Shopping Center here in Vegas. Gennady was there and in pretty good spirits, but understandably, a little bit unfortunately, he didn't want to talk about the fight. But we'll hear from Abel and Tom. We'll also examine the future of these two great middleweights, perhaps what they need to do better in the rematch, and we'll talk about how this entire thing affects the sport of boxing. That's all coming up. You know, going into the fight, what I thought and what I predicted was that Gennady would be the guy coming forward, would be the guy applying the pressure, and would eventually break Canelo down and stop him in the latter rounds. Watching the fight play itself out, I saw some of that happening, but I did not know that Canelo would be in the type of defensive posture that he chose to do, and he chose to do nearly all fight long, certainly most of the fight. Gennady got off to a nice start with the best weapon in boxing, and he has one of the best of them. I'm talking about the left jab. He was dominating the fight with the left jab. Won the first couple of rounds. I know on my card, I think I gave Canelo number 3, but after that, it was pretty much the same fight, a carbon copy each round. Gennady coming forward, applying the pressure, landing the jab when he wanted to, backing Canelo up against the ropes, pounding him with some shots, some landing, some not because of Canelo's very improved defense. And then Gennady trying to land that coup de grace right hand and Canelo rolling off to his right side and being able to escape it.
From the beginning, I thought that this was a difficult fight. I said that the first 3 or 4 rounds were going to be very difficult for both guys. Then once the fight developed, I thought that Gennady would start to pull away. There may be some even rounds. That's all the interviews that I'd done. I said the same thing. I thought that if Gennady stopped him, he stop him somewhere in the 10th or 11th. And if Gennady wanted, if it went to decision, Gennady would win a decision by 4 points. I thought that going away would win the fight because we'd have enough points in the bank. But in the corner, I was trying to get him to use more of his weapons. But we as coaches on the outside see a particular thing. They don't happen to see the same thing all the time. So all we can do is urge them and remind them of the importance of doing the things that we're asking them. But there's only certain keys that you can't say so much in a corner that you confuse them. So there's only certain keys that you can point out that hopefully they use.
In the middle rounds, I thought that Canelo started to gas out a little bit. I thought my prediction might come through. I saw Gennady starting to take over the fight, but then to Canelo's credit, he sort of caught a second win. I think he realized he was way behind, and in those last 3 or 4 rounds, you could make a case that he won all 4 of them. I had a couple of them dead even, but he's certainly on my card swept the last 2 rounds and did a good job.
He came forward the whole night. You made a good point. Canelo, was saying, he has a true Mexican style, but he was the one going backwards all night. So that's not really, I never saw...
Or languishing against the ropes.
I never saw Chavez going backwards all night, or, Chavez would stand in the middle of the ring and would want guys to come forward, and Gennady was pressing forward. He was the effective aggressor. And, I think all those close rounds you have to give to Triple G because he was the one making the fight. If Gennady was going backwards, we wouldn't have had a fight. Both guys would be going backwards, and then, it wouldn't have been exciting. Gennady was the one pressing the action. It was an exciting fight. Again, I don't want to take anything away from Canelo's performance because it was one of the most exciting fights that I've seen of 2 guys of that high caliber. It's just Gennady deserved the decision.
And it's not that Gennady was tiring. I actually think if it had been a 15-round fight, which this type of fight should be, I think that Gennady would have gotten the stoppage. I just think that we spoke about Father Time being at his door. We found out, or at least I found out, that Father Time is now in his house. And Gennady just can't pull the trigger like he once did. And again, couple that with Canelo's improving defense, and you saw what you saw.
As they get older, the reflexes slow down. I don't think that they showed that much in this fight, because he was able to be as fast as Canelo, if not faster at times. I think that in time they will show, but I think when that happens, we should be well aware of it, not only in the gym, in the fights, but in the gym.
But what you saw wasn't a difficult fight to score. One guy made the fight. One guy threw more and landed more punches in 10 out of the 12 rounds. And I would say that Canelo might have won 10 minutes of the 36 minutes of actual fighting on Saturday night. The fight should have been a unanimous decision for Gennady Golovkin. Because it's boxing where everything is backwards, and because I knew that one of the judges was named Adelaide Bird, which rhymes with absurd, which is a lot of her scoring in the past that I've seen. Once I heard 118, 110, all bets were off. I feel so bad because, number one, you feel bad for Gennady Golovkin. This is a guy who's had like 388 fights, if you count his amateur career. He's on the borderline of tying Bernard Hopkins' record for consecutive defenses. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And I know it's a draw, but he didn't fight for a draw. And he you know, so it affects him. It affects the history of the sport. It affects the integrity of the sport. It affects boxing fans and perhaps new fans, because people that are on the borderline, maybe people that after watched Mayweather and McGregor that want to be, they're reading all this stuff and, why do I want to mess around with boxing? It seems like every time we have the biggest stage, we trip up and fall. I mean, I pride myself in my picks, and I know I got it wrong in the sense that I had Gennady stopping him. I don't vacillate. I'm not given to ambiguity or ambivalence on any of my picks, but I don't think I got the winner wrong. I had the right winner. One of the judges had the right winner, but two of them got it wrong. And I'm not just, look, Adelaide Bird, it speaks for itself, absurdity. But Don Trella, the one that had it even, in round number 7, Bird and Moretti had that round, and everybody else on planet Earth, except maybe Canelo's mother, had that for Gennady, and he had it somehow for Canelo. If he scores that fight as everybody else did, including Adelaide Bird, it's a split decision win for Gennady Golovkin. So two of them got it wrong. One of them just got it absurd. After a draw, which is, I think, going to kind of leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth, everybody wants to see the obvious, a rematch. And I think we'll eventually get to that. Although it wouldn't surprise me at all if Golden Boy, Canelo's promoter, tries to milk the thing as long as they can to let Gennady get that much older.
From what I heard Canelo saying is that the earliest he wants to fight is May, which is fine. Gennady is the most active champion at that level right now, so he would want to fight again. You look at his face. I mean, there's no bruises. He's not banged up or anything like that. So, like I said, he's here at Hublot making an appearance. They just released his new edition of the watch. He's a brand ambassador, so his career is going to go on. You know, I think he's more popular than ever. If you heard when Canelo was doing the interview on HBO, and a lot of his fans were booing because the Mexican fans are true fans. They appreciate, you know, Gennady's talents in the ring, even though they might have been cheering for Canelo before the fight. They thought that Triple G won the fight, just like the majority of the media and the majority of fans. Not even majority, I would say 90–95%.
I would like for him to fight before the end of the year again, but obviously not against Canelo. I think that the May 5th holiday period for Mexico and for Mexicans here in Nevada and all over the world, I think would be a perfect opportunity to have the Mexicans that went from Canelo to Golovkin on that night as fans. I think that his fan base grew a heck of a lot on the Mexican side. So if it's done on May 5th, I think we're going to have the same kind of response that we had this last night.
But for Gennady Golovkin, Abel spoke about he would like to see him fight again this year. The obvious would be Saunders out of the UK, because he has that 4th belt. And Gennady's a guy that wants all the belts. That's an obvious one. I don't think that would be a difficult fight for Gennady. Canelo, there's, well, he's already, fought Cotto, so he's out of the question. I don't think anybody wants to see that fight again. We've seen it. Lemieux, David Lemieux, who Gennady knocked out, big, powerful, punching guy. Might be a fun fight, a little dangerous. Danny Jacobs, I think he's a little too dangerous for Canelo with his size and athleticism and punching power. I don't think we'd see that fight. And by the way, I certainly don't think Gennady's going to give him another shot before he has the rematch with Canelo. So there's a lot of stuff out there that can happen. What most likely will happen, maybe they'll squeeze in something for Gennady, but I would lean towards thinking what we're going to see is the rematch here in Vegas in May. Before we get to that, though, you should check out the fight again. I know I'm going to be there scoring it again. So should you. Perhaps you can pay attention to some of the things we've spoken about here. HBO will be replaying the fight on Saturday night as part of Jorge Linares defending his WBA lightweight crown against Luke Campbell. You'll get to see Triple G and Canelo again, and then hopefully down the road we'll get to see the fight again with a result that perhaps dictates what the fight was. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the breakdown. We'll talk to you soon. For InThisCornerTV.com, I'm Smitty.